This presentation is intended to give you an introduction to the histology of the urinary and reproductive systems. In this slide, we see a section through a kidney, and let me point out where the laser pointer is. That's a glomerulus, there's a glomerulus, there's a glomerulus, and there's a glomerulus. And these glomeruli are what? Balls of capillaries. And you can maybe visualize there's an afferent arteriole going in and an efferent arteriole coming out, but because of the sectioning, you really can't tell that. So one thing you see on here is the glomerulus, and the second thing, all these things around it, is the tubules. The tubules. That's why it's labeled glomerulus and tubules. So this is a section of a kidney. The big structures are glomerulus, or glomeruli is actually the plural, and the other things are the tubules. See, here's an enlargement. You can get the idea of the bending and twisting. It's a convoluted capillary is what is in there, a twisting and bending capillary. And then these things around the glomerulus are all the tubules. Tubule is just a word for little tube. Now here is the lining of the urinary bladder. This is a section of the urinary bladder, and it's characterized by a special kind of epithelial tissue. This is called transitional epithelial. Remember, what the bladder does is it stores the urine until it can be voided. So I want you to recognize this as urinary bladder section, and this is transitional, Transitional, transitional epithelium. Now here's a cross-section of the testes, and what you see, I want you to recognize this as testes, and what these are is these are seminiferous tubules. See, again, tubule is just a little tube. That's the sperm are actually being produced. If you look real close, you can see sperm are coming off in the lumen of those seminiferous tubules. And then the little cells in between are called interstitial cells. Okay? Remember what the interstitial cells do. They produce testosterone. So recognize this as the testes. Recognize these as the what? Seminiferous tubules. And recognize these as the interstitial cells, the cells in between. Here are some spermatozoa. That's just a fancy name for sperm. There's a head, a midpiece, and then a tail. The head has the penetration ability. The acrosome penetrates the egg, and the midpiece supplies the energy, and the tail is for the motility. So you had those things in the lessons. Head, midpiece, tail. This is for penetration. This is for energy. This is for motility. Now here is a section of an ovary. And all these things in the ovary are called follicles. They're at different stages of development, but you're going to see that the egg is developing within the follicle. As a matter of fact, it didn't become an egg until after it's ovulated. We'll see that on the next slide. But this is an ovary, and these are the follicles in the ovary. Okay, here's a mature follicle. You see you have all this extra associated cells with the ovary. Okay, see what it is it says it's a secondary oocyte. That's the stage of development of the in oogenesis right before the ovary. It becomes an ovary after it's ovulated. So ovulation actually doesn't release an egg, it releases a secondary oocyte. And then this is all the tissue around it. So that's a mature follicle. And normally, under normal circumstances, there's going to be one egg ovulated per 28-day period. This is a zygote. Remember what the zygote is? It's the fertilized egg. And the fertilized egg has a fertilization membrane around it. That's what this is right up here. And the fertilization membrane blocks other sperm from fertilizing that egg, because there's millions of sperm. The next picture is going to show you. It's just an artistic drawing of it, but that fertilization membrane means that one and only one sperm is going to fertilize that egg. Here's the picture right here. See, here's all the sperm wanting to fertilize it, but it has this fertilization membrane around it, and it forms right after the first sperm gets there, penetrates, fertilizes the egg, makes the zygote. Then no more sperm can fertilize that egg. Otherwise, we'd have real problems. But that's the fertilization membrane. This is the egg. These are all the sperm around it.